Hi, Aslam class. Welcome to your science lesson today, which is on the 3rd of February 2021. Okay, so in our topic that we've been looking at in science so far, we've been talking about living things and the living processes, and you've done lots of good work based around this. We've started looking about what living processes were and what makes a living thing. Then some of you would have gone out and done a nature walk and tried to find living things around your local area. We've looked at how your habitats, not your habitats, but how habitats have changed for animals and how our local environment has changed over the years. And you've had to think about also, classifying animals as well. So you've done lots and lots of things in relation to living things. We're now going to continue that and go even further and talk about things that a little bit more serious about things, in a sense that we're going to be looking at animals that may be endangered, that are living in the world today. And there are things that we do as a human race that actually help the process of these animals that are endangered to finally become extinct. So we need to really think about what we're doing and make sure that we preserve all life on this planet. So I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see the slides for today. So today's lesson, you're going to recognize that the changes to the environment can be dangerous to living things, and can you understand what can be done to reverse some of these changes? So by the end of the lesson, hopefully you'll be able to explore what the impact of some environmental changes are, both positive and negative. Look at the potential impact of deforestation. We're going to look at that word very soon, and understand what we can do to help minimize the impact of climate change. Now, last week, Mrs. Goulder did an experiment, which some of you guys may have been able to do at home. You should have been able to see the impact that climate change has just by looking at the thermometers. If you weren't able to do that because you didn't have thermometers, there was another experiment you could have done. You could just get 2 cups, get an adult to help you with this one, pour some boiling water into each cup. And then what you do is you put some cling film over one of the cups, and then you just observe the 2 cups. 1 cup will be, well, you tell me what happens. I'm not going to explain the experiment for you, but you then observe to see what is happening with each cup. So you put some boiling water in and then cover one of them up with cling film, and you should be able to see something happen. So that's just another experiment you can do. Obviously, that one doesn't require thermometers. It's just all what you see. And also the last one here, you're going to understand some of the changes that caused the number of some things to decline, the number of living things to decline. So we're going to discuss 5 different changes that happen to our environments. Deforestation. Deforestation is basically when it's happening a lot in the Amazon rainforests and the other rainforests around the world. They are big, large areas, and these forests provide a good amount of oxygen for the atmosphere, which we obviously need to breathe. However, farming is, there's a lot of money in farming nowadays, and what are these countries are doing where they have these big forests? They are cutting the forests down so that the ground is level. They sell the wood so they can make some money, and then they will actually start farming this land out, growing crops and things like that. Seems okay, but what's happening is that the wildlife that lives in these areas are being completely and utterly destroyed, and their homes are being destroyed, and they've got nowhere else to live, which means they're moving into different areas where it's more dangerous for them, and ending up maybe that they're not able to survive. It is a shame for these living creatures, and that's what we're doing as a human race. Urbanisation. Okay, urbanisation is when you take a land and you start building up and turning it into a town or a city. That's how many of our towns and cities started in this country. There are many animals that used to live in this country that don't live here anymore because they've had to move or they've become extinct. Urbanisation has also encouraged animals to come out and change their own behaviours. And when I was a kid, you hardly ever saw a fox. They came out at night time, you never really saw them at all. Now you see them during the day. I was driving down the road the other day and there was a fox just walking along the road. They've become accustomed to our way of life, the way we leave a lot of rubbish lying about, fast food wrappers just left on the floor. This is something that, you know, foxes have now adapted to. So urbanisation has worked in a sense for them. Global warming and climate change. So global warming and climate change is a natural phenomenon. Okay, it will happen on its own. We've had plenty of ice ages where climates have changed and over time. It always is going to be there. However, as human beings, we are actually increasing the rate that the climate is changing, and we are contributing to global warming, obviously with the amount of pollution that we use in making things and driving and all of this, using electricity. It all adds up, and it's called a carbon footprint, and we're trying to do everything we can to lower our carbon footprint. But at the same time, we understand that we need to have electricity and things like that because we depend on it so much. But yeah, we are contributing a great deal to global warming, and we can do a lot more to stop contributing to it. Intensive farming, I spoke about that in deforestation. Nature reserves. Okay, nature reserves are put in place to help preserve the wildlife in them areas so that none of these other things can happen in them areas. So, deforestation. Forests are amazing, and they support so many living things, from down in the ground in the foliage all the way up to the canopies up in the trees. Okay, there's many different species living in these forests, and deforestation is where we are cutting the trees down, and you can see in this picture here that it's all now being turned into plantation area to grow other crops. And just look at this area, it's massive. Just think of all the animals that have had to move and leave. Now, deforestation contributed to India's deadly mudslide, experts say, and they said it leads to land erosion, which leads to landslides. And that's environmental activist Medha Patkar who says that. You can click on this link, it will take you to this website. Here, it's about the orangutan. And the orangutan is an endangered species. So have a flick through this at your own leisure. Okay, it's got a bit of information about the orangutan, where they live, and you can just see here in this picture how much the forest has disappeared over the years. You can see it was all up here and all around here. Look at it. And then as time goes on, you can see the deforestation of the orangutan's habitat has literally disappeared. And if their habitat's going to disappear, what's going to happen to the orangutan? So have a check out on that website. The link will be in the description below the video. So make sure you have a look at that. Now, what can we do to help deforestation not occurring? We can choose recycled or certified sustainable wood products, okay? Instead of having to buy products that are new all the time, we can recycle. So that's always one thing that we can do. Also, look for products that don't use palm oil. Now, peanut butter, I love peanut butter. Most peanut butters have palm oil in it. I think you can get this one here, which is organic, which doesn't have any palm oil. I know some pat doesn't have any palm oil in it, but always have a check. If it's got palm oil in it, then that means that has come from deforestation. So by not buying things that have got palm oil in it, the hope is that there will be no demand for palm oil, therefore no need to destroy the forests. Urbanisation. So this means that more and more people living in the built-up areas rather than rural areas. And this means that more houses and roads are being built on land that was once untouched. And I'm telling you now, if you have a look in your local area, if you find a nice sort of space, maybe in 20 years' time, that space is going to be turned into houses. New developments are happening all the time. So, that is endangering animals like the hedgehog. So when we build another road or another estate or another shop, we are taking away sources from the hedgehog's environment. Worms, slugs, and snails do not live in the roads or in houses and things like that, do they? It is the thought that their numbers have declined from about 30 million in 1950 to about 1.5 million now. That is a massive decline in numbers in such a short space of time. Hedgehogs are nocturnal. That means they travel at night time, or they come out at night, and they travel between 1 and 2 miles at night looking for food. When we put fences up in our gardens, how are they going to transport? So if you've got a hedgehog living in your garden, how do they travel to look for food? Because they're not going to just look for it in your garden. They will look elsewhere, okay? And because if we are cutting off their habitats, we are then increasing, they're not able to mate, they're not able to look for food. So what can we do about that? You can leave some food out for them, of course. That's another good thing that we can do. But you can also look at this video here. Again, this will be in the link description below. And this video just explains how we can, what things we can do to help the hedgehogs survive, and what we can do to help them. Now, global warming. The world is always getting warmer because we are burning more fossil fuels. The carbon dioxide this produces is called a greenhouse gas. This means that when it is in our atmosphere, it acts like a greenhouse to warm up the world. So what happens is the rays of light from the sun, they come down, and this is our atmosphere here, and this is us here on our houses. So the rays come in, okay? But because we've burnt so many fossil fuels, we've created like a layer so that when the UV lights come in, they don't get out. Now, beforehand, it used to be able to escape quite freely, but now we're contributing. This is called global warming, and the heat cannot get back out, so it bounces back down, up and down on the Earth's surface, making it a lot warmer. And that's why the ice caps are melting. Polar bears are losing their habitats as well. So glaciers and sea are shrinking, and if this continues, there could be major floodings in areas that are near the coast or down in sea levels. Now, some scientists think that global warming will also cause more extreme weather, such as hurricanes, drought, flooding, and in different areas. So it is important to say that this is actually a natural cause as well. It happens naturally, but by human intervention, we have contributed a lot more to global warming, and we've accelerated its process. That means we've speeded it up, okay? So we need to do something to slow that down. So what can we do? We can keep an eye on your food, okay, Miles? The transportation of food burns a lot of fossil fuels. Is it possible to buy local seasonal produce? Unfortunately, we don't get strawberries in December, but just down the road from me, I can go and pick my own fruits if I want to. There's a farm just down the road from me where I can sort of buy my meat. So I'm not having to try, I can actually walk to these places to get some of my food. Obviously, you may not be able to get everything there, but at least that helps one way or another. Now, farming is is higher in demand. As the population increases, the more food we need to feed ourselves. So farming has become more serious, more in depth. And what's happened is that hedges are being removed to make our fields larger. Wildflowers are not growing anymore, which is obviously affecting pollination and things like that. So it all has a knock-on effect. So what we need to do is plant some more wildflowers anywhere we can. And I've got wildflowers in my garden. Well, here at the moment, but I did plant some in my garden last year. I noticed an increase in the amount of bees that were flying around. So very, very important to grow plants. Now, nature reserves. This is a positive thing that humans are doing to help the environment. And you see in these two pictures here, we've got a nature reserve, Burlish, and here we've got loads of little bird houses that are stuck to a wall. Because maybe lots of birds' houses were destroyed by a tree being felled and being brought down. So instead, they built these bird houses for the birds to live in. These are areas that are allowed to flourish once again. These areas are not, you're not allowed to build on them. You're not allowed to cut anything down on purpose. It's all controlled by nature. And what it allows nature to flourish again. And these areas are protected. Okay, so any living things that are in this protected area, they are protected. And it is a crime to destroy them or endanger any of the animals that live there. So help nature reserves by picking up litter or learning about what they're doing, and tell others about it as well. Lots of these nature reserves, people who work there, they're all volunteers, most of them, so they don't actually get paid for what they're doing. They just rely on donations. So you know, go, find one local one and help out. And be a helpful citizen. Now, your challenges for today. Number one, design an information poster about one of the changes that we spoke about, and tell people about the change and what they can do to help. Okay, so challenge one, expect a poster of everyone. If you want to further yourself, have a look at the other two challenges. One of them you could do, which is explain your poster, either on your video, or you can type it up on your thing, or you can share it in our live meeting session if you'd like to. Number three, now this is the furthest challenge to really push yourselves. What could you do in your local area to help your environment if any change was to happen? So that is your science lesson for today. All about, it is a bit sinister. It is a little bit, we're talking about endangered species, but but it is important. This is happening now. We need to do everything we can to help our local environment and the living things that live here. We wouldn't like it if someone decided to just knock down our houses and build something else there, would we? So let's have a little consideration and think about the living things that are around us before we start doing these things. Anyway, that's the video over. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Remember to post your work up on Tapestry.